Okay, would it make you happy if I could save you a lot of time and cut right to the chase? This is the Thursday Mind Mission on the Toad Cam, coming from the Toad Bunker in New York Toad City. And today we're gonna bust it up on the subject of credibility. That's the main word. If you go through phenomenal amounts of literature, you go to all these seminars, you pay a ton of money, you get gurus, coaches, you try to figure out ways to raise your kids, get along with your friends, have higher self-esteem, get women, succeed in business. It's going to really come down to a few very basic things. A lot of life comes down to really, really basic character traits. And if you want to boil that down further to like the most basic denominator trait, the thing that will make all the difference in the world as to your level of success, your level of acceptance, the degree to which people will want to do repeat business with you, the degree to which people will recommend you, either as someone to do business with, someone to know, someone to associate with, someone to have as a friend, someone you want as a boyfriend or a girlfriend. That's credibility. Okay, I cannot stress that term enough, credibility. I don't think there's anything in the world that can substitute for credibility. And so often, so very, very often, I deal with people who just ought to know better. I mean, unbelievable. People with like PhDs from very prestigious major learning institutions like Harvard University or Yale or Stanford. Advanced people trained by other advanced people who have low credibility for a number of reasons. People who use language carelessly, people who think imprecisely, people who say that they know things that they don't know, or say that they know them at a depth that they don't know, or express their intentions in a very uncommitted way, where language becomes a very imprecise, fuzzy, foggy, kind of blurry substance that they traffic in. Man, I see this at every level, this one problem of low credibility. I see it from the most basic, simple contractors to people doing electrical engineering, to people in the financial industry. Everywhere I see the break, the cut is credibility. And I strongly believe that credibility begins and credibility is formed by something that's going on at the internal submodality level. I think it has a lot to do with what I've been talking about truth value and the ability to have sophisticated, accurate, consistent ways of grading truth value or establishing some kind of internal reference point to the level of truth value or the level of knowability or the level of confidence that you really know something. And when I deal with people that have low credibility or their credibility is slipping or nobody really trusts them, it's very clear to me that internally they have lost the capacity to make very clear distinctions between truth value and granularity. And they may come up with some just incredibly beguiling sounding pitch. It may be very fine grained, and yet it may have very little truth value to it. It may have lost all their credibility. Often I've noticed the people that have the finest granularity but the lowest truth value, we might call these people sociopaths or something like that, are people that basically have crippled, damaged, or irrecoverable credibility. These people have a problem. There's not much they can do about it, because once you lose your credibility, you've got to work 10 to 100 times harder to get yourself back, and it's going to take actually probably years before people trust you again. I'm going to tell you this. This is why credibility is so important, and this is why being very, very careful about evaluating what you say and not just saying things because they sound good. Huge personality failure, big flaw I find in a lot of people is they like the ring of it. They like the way that things sound coming out of their mouth. And it's not that it's true, it sounds good. It's a very auditory phenomenon. It's this auditory They are in love with the sound of a phrase, or they're in love with the sound of a certain pitch, or they're in love with the sound of some kind of intellectual patter. And clearly they have formed some kind of erotic or fascinated or obsessive connection with certain forms of internal speech generation. And they're actually getting almost masturbatory pleasure just generating certain speech patterns, which may not have very much to do with the way things really are. When we're talking about credibility, we're talking about the ability to either deliver what you say, or whatever you say to somebody else, operate on this function. I will give you two rules. Whatever you say is going to, this is a rule of the universe. I don't know why it's true, but it's the most basic rule of the universe. If you're talking about somebody behind their back, the first person it's going to get back to in the shortest amount of time will be the person whose back you're talking behind. So be very, very careful about talking behind people's back. A lot of people do this, and it's a very bad habit. And it will really, really damage your credibility unless whatever you say about them is absolutely, unimpeachably, demonstrably, irrefutably true. And two, there's a good, valid reason for saying it. Now, people that just go say undermining, undercutting stuff behind people's back, taking things out of context, distorting them, yeah, once it gets around that you're that kind of person, and I knew a kind of person like that, very, very beguiling, very appealing kind of guy. A lot of people love the guy, but he had this horrible, horrible habit of talking behind people's back like crazy and never having the guts to say things to their face. Pretty soon, this guy lost all his social credibility. No one would dare tell him anything because they knew he was going to recycle it, reprocess it, and go and use this stuff as something to talk behind other people's back, taking things out of context. Nobody was willing to open up, and this guy became very socially isolated. I actually pushed out of a community just on his childish, immature need to talk behind people's backs. So don't do it. The second thing you want to keep in mind is always assume that people will repeat what you say, and if you say it very convincingly, even though it may not be true, or it may be incomplete, or it may be ill-advised, somebody else may believe you and say it to a third person. And then if that turns out to be wrong, you've not only damaged your credibility, you've damaged their credibility. And if you get a reputation for talking a lot of crap, no one will dare listen to you, and no one will dare repeat what you say because they know that shit is going to stick to them too. So this is a very, very important point. What you need to do is follow what I'm saying, and I'm laying out some lesson plans here, some learning to develop good truth value skills. You need to have excellent truth value skills, and you need to have a reputation for having excellent truth value skills. And you need to have excellent skills aligning granularities, internal representations, and the granularity of internal representations, and aligning those with your truth value representations. Because trust me, your reputation is going to stick to you a lot longer than you think, and it's going to be a lot harder to change once people develop a certain expectation from you and a certain belief about you. So remember, when you're setting up your credibility patterns, you're also teaching people what beliefs to have about you. And those will be very durable beliefs that will probably last their entire life no matter what you do. So take it from me, learn these patterns, master them, because this will make the difference that makes all the difference for the rest of your life.